Sometimes I stop for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
5 years in prison for the man who released former President Trump's tax returns.
Charles Littlejohn told the judge he was sorry. He acted out of a sincere but misguided belief that he was serving the public by showing how easy it was for the wealthy to pay less in tax. Outside court, he stood next to his attorney, Lisa Manning, who said he would not be making any further comments.
While certainly it was not the outcome that we had hoped for, we greatly appreciate the court's time and consideration of the case.
Washington, D.C. federal judge Anna Reyes said in court that she had no words over the fact that Littlejohn only faced 1 count of unauthorized disclosure of tax returns. He did plead guilty, but he released thousands of tax documents, not just former President Trump's, providing them to the New York Times and ProPublica. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Toyota is urging people who own older Corollas, Corolla Matrixes, and RAV4s to get immediate repairs after a recall due to Takata airbag inflators that can injure or kill the driver. Amazon has ended its attempt to buy a robot vacuum company.
Amazon is scrapping plans to buy iRobot, the maker of the Roomba vacuum cleaner, because it believes the deal cannot get past regulators in the European Union. In a joint statement, the companies say they believe the deal would have allowed Amazon to invest in iRobot and would have lowered prices. Amazon and iRobot say the outcome will deny consumers faster innovation. iRobot is laying off 31% of its workforce by late March, approximately 350 employees, and iRobot's chairman and CEO Colin Angle has stepped down. Amazon will pay iRobot a termination fee. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
X, formerly Twitter, has blocked some searches for Taylor Swift after pornographic deepfake images of her surfaced on the site. In order for results to come up, you have to put quotes around her name, otherwise you'll get an error message. I'm Lee Silasera. This is Fox News.
Hello, everyone. This is Lawrence Sutton and Chris Morris, and this is Tennessee Talks with Kip Capley. And this show is brought to you by Kip Capley and his treasurer, Donna Corella, and
Strikers. Shout out to Strikers.
Shout out to Strikers. How you been, buddy?
I'm doing great. Actually, I think I'm going to Strikers when we get through tonight.
Are you really?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's about time. It's about time. I imagine they would really appreciate that, too, because that's a really good place to go eat, I'm going to tell you.
It is.
I mean, it's got to be one of my top favorite restaurants to eat at, and other than, of course, the buffets are near and dear to my heart, but that's a different story.
Yeah, they can look at us and everybody can tell we like buffets.
Yeah. I mean, there's no kidding. They probably look at me and they're like, you go home now.
Yeah.
So tell me something, Chris. I knew that you were very busy going into the weekend, so I want you to tell me how your weekend went.
Oh. Let me tell you, Saturday, thank God for sunshine this afternoon. Maybe a little cold, but I can deal with that. Beat this. We have had some terrible weather the last 2 weeks, and Saturday morning I had a rough drive starting about 5:30 a.m. heading to Nashville, pouring down rain. Finally got out of it up around 8:40. But, yes, sir, we did have a state executive committee meeting, which I serve on the SEC, Senatorial District 28, along with my committee woman counterpart, Angie McClanahan. And we had a meeting dealing with bona fide Republicans and also about starting this right now instead of furthering it into 2026.
Right. So what was the reason, Chris? I mean, help me out here, okay?
Yes, sir.
Because you've been in this political game for a long time.
Too long.
Thank you, though, okay?
Well, thank you.
I'm new to the game.
Yes, sir.
And I still guess I see everything as being black and white. So why would the Republican Party of Tennessee decide to wait 2 years to see if somebody is going to be a true Republican or not. And would you explain to everybody what is looked upon when we talking about true Republicans? We're only talking about running in a race, whether you're running for school board, whether you're running for senator. Tell us about what that means.
Well, dealing with bona fide Republicans, it goes, and this actually started, and I had to get a little history lesson because, in December of 22, I just went on the SEC.
Right.
Okay, I've been on it just a fraction over a year, along with your committee woman, Stacey Brewer, in Page Wally's senatorial district. So we went on at the same time.
Okay.
And what has happened, and we got a little history lesson in 21, is when they proposed this 2026 idea. But I learned Saturday that they didn't consider we've got a presidential primary coming up March the 5th of 24, and
Right.
that had been left out. And they were trying to give Democrats who are crossing over and wanting to become Republicans
Right.
a reprieve. Well, I'm going to tell you, and folks get mad at me, you got the same pants to get glad in, you get mad in. I'm not forgiving a Democrat an inch. And so the bona fide status is 3 out of the, you must have voted as a Republican at least 3 out of the last 4 statewide primaries. And as of this date, January 29th, that goes to August of 2018, March of 2020, August of 2020, and August of 22.
Right.
And once we get past the presidential primary of March of 24, we will drop off August of 2018. So you must have voted 3 out of the last 4 as a Republican.
Right. Okay. So, and I'll bring this home also, for other people to understand, because, I had difficulty in understanding that as well, because even though you went and looked up, yes, you're a Republican. Yes, as soon as you hit the state in 2011, you registered as a Republican. But I had always just typically voted during the presidential.
And that's what your record, I checked your record out, and you're 100% correct. You and your wife both
Yeah.
always voted in the statewide presidential primary. You just didn't vote in the state primary in August of every year.
That's correct. I think I know I had missed a couple of them, and that would have been during when our governor would be running.
Right, that is correct.
So, but I didn't know. I mean, listen, people, I'm going to tell you something. Just because you're not interested in politics doesn't mean that politics isn't interested in you.
It's very much interested in you.
And we started finding that out during COVID. COVID was my wake-up point for these things. So all you're wanting is for people to say, hey, look, this guy is a Republican. And you know what? To me, Chris, it's only fair. Me and you, we've had some long, in-depth conversations about this, too.
Many hours spent on the phone.
Yes. Because I'm like, well, look, I'm as conservative as it comes. I just don't want to vote for some of these bullarchy people at times.
That's right.
And, but that's my own fault. But I will say this. If you need to have some kind of training ground, and you also need to have some kind of history to show who you are and your values are, because unfortunately in today's world, it's people will say one thing and they turn around and do the exact opposite. I mean, I hate saying this, but a lot of the things that our Governor Bill Lee has done has been against the Republican Party playbook.
Against and even the National Party platform.
Yes.
Of 2016.
Yes. So I can go and read that platform and I can agree with it. But obviously there's a lot of Republicans that don't. But more importantly, in this day and time in Tennessee, we have a lot of Democrats that love power. They love that power. They love to be in power.
That's right.
And they will do and they will say whatever they can to remain in power. And unfortunately, because we are not a closed primary state, which I am vehemently against, we have a lot of Democrats that are saying, well, I'll run. They tried to run in 2020 and 2022 as independents, and it didn't work out well. But now they're saying, well, I'll run as a Republican. All I got to do is say I'm a Republican. And unfortunately, Chris, and this is where you have battled it out, we have had our Republican Party of Tennessee have let on some very bad people.
That is correct.
That do not adhere to conservative Christian Republican values.
You know, one thing that really got me very upset, not mildly, I was furious, is in Knox County. They used to have this word vouching, and I'm going to mention this, but I don't want to get in depth in it.
Right.
Where you could vouch, where an elected official could vouch for a candidate. And there was a guy that was running for House seat in Knox County by the name of Eddie Manis. And they had a true bona fide Republican, and her name was Gina Oster. And people challenged Eddie Manis. At that time, our state executive committee, and I was not on there, they voted to not let him on the ballot, but the chairman, Scott Golden, had sole discretion and chose to put him on the ballot.
Was it because they felt like he was more electable because he was more moderate maybe over there? Or?
Let me get into it a little bit further.
Okay.
The truth is the truth. He is a known homosexual. He didn't hide it.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the closet.
Right.
Well, that doesn't even meet our platform. But there were people over there that vouched for him, like Governor Haslam, former Governor Haslam, former U.S. Senator Lamar Alexander, Glenn Jacobs, who's the mayor of Knox County, WWE wrestler Kane, a state senator over there by the name of Richard Briggs, and U.S. Congressman Tim Burchett.
Really?
Yes.
That surprises me.
And so what happens sometimes, you get caught up about these big donors to the Republican Party.
Right.
Oh, if we don't do this, they'll quit giving to the party. So I wish they would, because they're not real Republicans. They're what I call that trans Republican.
Yeah, because they can't figure out what they are.
They can't figure out what they are. So that was one thing that really, it just set my rear end on fire. And then these open primaries, what happened, Gina got beat in the Republican primary by this guy who was not bona fide.
Right.
And was placed on the ballot as a Republican who was not a Republican.
There was nothing about him, so I want to just stress this.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish this, because he beat her by 99 votes.
Right.
And they were crossover voting
from the Democratic Party.
Democrats, and I'm seeing it right now, where the Democrats, number one in Wilson County, are saying, hey, we got to cross over and support this person for the Republican primary.
And that's what they're doing. I mean, and that's why, one, we have to close the primaries.
That's right.
But,
you hear this, legislators?
But two, what we have to do is we have to decide. Now, I want to say this in all fairness. Okay, and I'm going to be transparent, and I don't want to come across more of a hypocrite as I am. But the reason why even Brandon and myself are involved in the Republican Party is we actually had to be vouched for, because Brandon and I both kind of, we just voted in the presidential elections.
Well, let me share this with you. Y'all are 2 out of 4.
Right.
When you vote in this March,
I'll be 3 out of 4 now.
Presidential primary, you will be 3 out of 4. So your first vote, you're a private.
Right.
Your second vote is a Republican, you're a corporal. Your third vote as a Republican, you're a sergeant. and your fourth vote as a Republican, you become a sergeant major. So I call it earning your stripes.
Absolutely.
So here's why this is so important, and we'll close out on this. Saturday, I was fighting for this to start immediately. We had that Zoom call in September. People were thoroughly confused. I shared my feelings about that Saturday morning, but we won and made it effective immediately by 32 votes. We had 29 no's.
So you won by 3 votes.
We won by 3 votes.
Wow.
So we got our work to do.
We really do, because there were 5 that didn't vote. They either abstained or they did not show.
We got one that died just recently.
Okay.
And sorry about that. And we got 2 vacancies. So there were 3 vacancies, and there were 61 present out of the 63.
Okay.
Okay. But there were 14 proxies. And what a proxy means is like a guy over in Knox County by the name of Kent Morrell that serves on the SEC sent me his proxy and notified the state party chair that I was carrying his proxy. And he told me exactly how he wanted to vote. So we had 14 people who were present by proxy.
Okay, and that makes sense. So I'm going to have to ask this, because I love to be transparent. I want to tell what we're seeing. I would like to know about my Senate district people, who is Stacy Brewer and Johnny Bellis. How did they vote?
Well, number one, Johnny Bellis was not present. He was there present by proxy.
Okay.
And both voted no.
They both voted
No.
to allow Democrats to be vouched for.
Well, they voted no, not to make this start immediately.
Oh, okay.
I want to clear the air.
Okay.
This was to make it start now or wait to 26, and we reversed that from September to start it immediately and not to be going into the future.
Well, I need to ask them why. I mean, I can't picture why, but, in all fairness, I need to ask them why on that, because I think it's obvious right now that the way of America's life and values is under attack.
Yes, sir.
And I always heard this saying, a good defense is a great offense. And you can't be playing defense all the time.
That's right.
And I will tell you this, I've seen it. I've seen it in our 2022 elections, where people in our area were trying to say, oh, well, we don't want to run as a partisan. And everybody knew that they were Democrats. Say what you are. Be proud of what you are. But it's that power. We got to remain in that power. So they ran as independents.
Yeah. Well, to bring it to a close, it did pass 32 to 29.
Yeah.
And like I said, and 2 members were not present and did not have a vote, nor did anybody proxy for them. But we have got to have a rude awakening. And my real thing is, you either are a Republican or you're not. So we got our homework cut out for us, and there's more things coming that I'm fixing to bring up in April.
Okay, good.
So there's a lot, and I'm working hard to really uphold our 2016 platform and what true conservatism is to the state. Now, that on a footnote, I watched the session open at 4 o'clock this evening. They already adjourned, the House.
Right.
And what really bothered me, it was opened by a transgender person, a person who was born a male and is now a female.
No, they're not a female. They may be pretending to be a female.
Yeah, you're correct. but I'm just
when they die,
it.
I was about to say, when they die 1,000 years from now, you'll dig up those bones, and there's nothing there that will state, because of the DNA that God puts in us, that's going to be a male.
We don't have any house rules. Afton Bain, an activist, she brought a well-known activist, I think, Darren Johnson, I believe was the person's name,
Right.
who opened up. She gave a big speech. You go on. She's been fighting all kinds of LGBTQ plus alphabet people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's a well-known, or it is a well-known activist.
Right.
And it's a crying shame. And I hope our legislators walked out. Our true conservative legislators, I hope they exited the room.
See, I'm going to tell you, I see this confusion, and it's talked about very plainly in Romans chapter 1 and verse 16 through 32. I feel sorry for these people, Chris, but here's the thing. A sin is a sin is a sin, and how would the House, would they have taken prayer from someone that was a adulterer or a known liar or a known murderer? I mean, I can keep going down the line of the sins.
They don't have rules. I asked that question.
But no, here's where my question's going, though.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I got a reason for this line of questioning. Would they have allowed someone that was known, like I said, a known liar, a known adulterer even, unrepentant, not asking for forgiveness or anything else, would they allow someone like that in there to give to do the prayer?
I can't answer that question. They don't have any rules, so I would, without any rules
Right.
to prevent that, the answer would be an obvious yes.
Okay. But see, to me, I don't think they would.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think they would, because, we have churches. You look at what happened with Jimmy Swaggart, Jim Baker. I mean, we all know preachers are just like us. They can all fail, okay? But these people were no longer allowed to be in the pulpit when they were living and going through their sin unrepentantly. Mm-hmm. That's my whole thing. Sin is a sin. But when you are doing it unrepentantly, you should not be in leadership in a church. That's it. Do you need to be in church? Absolutely. That person needs to be in church. That person, I hope, gets saved. But they do not need to be leading. And this comes from God himself. You're not arguing with me. You can go argue with God in the Bible. This is God's rules, not Lawrence Sutton's rules.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to tell you, I've had numerous people who watch this show, and this show is, Lawrence said in the beginning, is sponsored both by Kip Capley and Stryker's Restaurant here in Lawrenceburg. A lot of people are contacting and say, hey, help educate us on current affairs in our great state, new legislation.
So, and I tell you what, I know where I think you're going with this, so I want to go with the national news first. Do you mind?
Yeah, let's make it brief, because I want to do.
Well,
that.
I think this is going to take into what you're going to talk about, though.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So right now, it has come out that the Biden DOJ has asked for, and has been doing this since 2021, getting people's credit card purchases. And they are looking for people's credit card purchases for buying guns,
ammo,
Bibles, going to Dick's Sporting Goods, going to Cabela's, going to any of these other large places, going to, let's say...
They may even go out here to Etheridge at Top Gun.
But see, there's 150 names that they listed. And they were like Glock, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, these places, okay?
Kimbrough.
Yeah, they were listed, and they are tracking your purchases. And why are they tracking your purchases, Chris? Because they are putting us on watch list as domestic terrorists.
You know, last Wednesday in Fayetteville, Tennessee, you see the book I've got right here in front of me. Read that real quick.
Yeah, it says, it's Stephen Friend, True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower.
This was a whistleblower, and I'm telling you, we're going to try to get him back, along with 2 to 3 more. Their stories are very eye-opening, and he tells you specifically what the Biden administration and the DOJ and the FBI are doing. And he will tell you what got him suspended, and it's because he would not go after people like you and I. They started targeting January the 6th. Everybody who was up there on January the 6th, your phone is a tracking device.
Right.
Believe it or not, this iPad is a tracking device.
And soon to be your car is going to be a tracking device.
But your social security number is a tracking device.
Yes.
Using your debit or credit card is a tracking device. They are going after every means to pursue everybody that was there. Don't mean you were at the Capitol, even on the Capitol grounds. They're going after you.
So if you happen to been a family that may not knew anything about January the 6th, and you just happen to have been there in Washington, D.C. that weekend to take your kids to the museum or something.
Well, if you vote Republican and you're a Christian, you're on the list.
And you know what? Here's the thing. There's soccer moms. And,
you and I are on the list.
Yeah. There's soccer moms and people out there going, well, I don't do anything wrong. I've done nothing wrong. But just the simple fact that you might have went to Dick's Sporting Goods to buy your children soccer cleats or
baseball bat
or something, and you happen to put it on your credit card, they don't know what you bought. They're just telling the banks and your credit card company, you need to supply us the information on everybody that bought these items in these stores.
Great way to open. Let's talk about House Bill 1784, Senate Bill 1702. Let me repeat that. House Bill 1784, Senate Bill 1702.
Did I put that on silver platter for you?
You did.
Okay.
You laid it out here just as...
You better hit the home run here, Chris.
I'm fixing to hit the home run. Everybody that's listening to us that's got 1 ounce of conservatism in them, they need to be supporting this bill. You need to be blowing up the phones to your representatives. And let me tell you, our Friday sponsor of our show, Todd Warner, is the House bill sponsor solely. And let me tell you, I always say if he's not number one, he may share number one with about 2 or 3 more, is State Senator Joey Hensley. They have introduced this bill, and it's in it's bank and financial institutions to make it unfair or deceptive practices under the Consumer Protection Act of 1977 for financial institutes to require firearms retailers to use firearms-specific transaction codes. What they're trying to do, the federal government, what they're trying to do to you folks is set it up that there's a special code and they know you're buying firearms and ammunition.
And it's not just firearms and ammunition. I want to stress this. It's also Bibles. It's also
this is specifically dealing with your right to bear arms, your Second Amendment, and it has been introduced and passed on first consideration in the Senate. In the House, it has been assigned to the Senate the SC Banking and Consumer Affairs Subcommittee right now.
Okay.
So that's where it stands. You better support the bill. So again, House Bill 1784, sponsored by House member Todd Warner, District 92, and State Senator Joey Hensley. Support it.
Yes.
And start blowing up people's phones.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm going to tell you something. People, they do not realize, I don't think, because we can still go to work, we can still go to McDonald's, we can still go home and watch Dancing with the Stars, so everybody thinks that we're still free. And people don't realize how close we really are in this country to having the things that happen in China and Russia and Germany, the killing fields of Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam, where they'll line you up, and you may think I'm being hyperbolic with this, they'll line you up and they will bury you in mass graves.
That's correct. Here's another bill, another great one. House Bill 1631, Senate Bill 1708. Now, House Bill 1631 and Senate Bill 1708, support it. Hear me. Be blowing their phones up. This Senate bill is sponsored by guess who?
Joey Hensley. If it's going to be conservative, I guarantee you Dr. Joey Hensley has got his fingers involved with it.
Now I'm going to come around, and Gino Bulso up in Williamson County is the primary House sponsor, but I'm going to tell you who also co-sponsored with him. But it's dealing with schools, both schools, K through 12, public and private, that well, wait a minute. I may need to back up. As introduced, clarifies that private schools serving students in any grades, pre-K through 12, is authorized to adopt a handgun carry policy for private schools. I think we already have that for public schools.
Right, which means we don't have any guns really in there at all, which is why we see so many mass shootings happen in schools.
But you need to support this, and also signed on with Representative Gino Bulso is none other than Kip Capley.
Well, that doesn't shock me.
What about that? And Jody Barrett.
Yep.
Shout out to Barrett. Rick Eldridge. Now, Rick Eldridge is over in Hamlin and Granger County. That's Morristown, Tennessee, in District 10. So kudos to Rick as well. So that's a bill that should be a no-brainer and should pass. But it's already been passed on first consideration in the Senate, and it's placed on the calendar for Civil Justice Committee for January the 31st, which is Wednesday. So you need to be blowing your representatives' phones up about that as well.
So you know what's kind of interesting, Chris? I love seeing these things happening because, frankly, the most unsafe places that you can go is gun-free zones.
Gun-free zones.
And I actually have something sent to me by a gentleman that proves it. And I'm going to show you a picture that he sent me, and then I'm going to explain that picture, what it is. But could you tell everybody what you see?
I see a building, it looks like in a strip center, that has several bullet holes in the glass, both doors.
Right.
The left and the right. And I see that one bullet hole is in the window pane.
Right.
But
so what that is, if you'll look at the very far side, that says Marine right there. And then when you look at the door, if you will see what that sign says on the door there,
that sign says, it's a blurred pictures, but it's got a circle, red circle around the gun with a slash through it. That means no guns allowed.
No guns allowed.
Gun-free zone.
That is 18 bullet holes there. And that picture was taken outside when our Marines
got killed in Chattanooga.
At Chattanooga, and they were slaughtered. And they could not defend themselves because the Marines that were in the recruiting station were not allowed to have the guns.
What a shame. What a shame.
Did that sign stop the criminal?
No, it invited the criminal.
Exactly. So, people, I'm going to tell you something. You see a no gun sign, don't go into that business. You are asking for it, because a criminal is a criminal for a reason, because they don't follow the law. And to me, I think that's important, Chris. that we have those things, and shout out to these legislators for seeing that for the publics or for the private schools. But let me ask you this, Chris. Could not private schools already make their own rules and regulations in this state?
Sure they can.
Okay. So what is this bill actually doing? Is it the bill actually saying that they have to say we're either going to be a gun-free zone or not?
They are actually doing a constitutional amendment to make it. Wait a minute, I'm on something else. I done switched pages. You
Right.
know. But yeah, that's basically that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so what else do you have here for us?
I wanted you to read read that one.
Guns are welcome on premises.
That's in a restaurant that I
Okay.
went into on the road, and I took that picture and I said, man, I got to take this for Lawrence Sutton. He is not going to believe that I got this inside a restaurant.
You know, I'll tell you what
Good
I like.
old barbecue restaurant on top of
You
it.
know what the rest of that sign will say, and it's covered up? It says guns are welcome on premises.
Yes.
And should the need to use your gun, judicious marksmanship is appreciated.
Well, that was sitting down in a basket by
Yes.
their thermostat, and I was sitting down when I took that picture.
Yeah.
And I said, wow.
I
So-
know, and you know what? Shout out to that store. You felt safe. Did you feel any less safe seeing that guns were allowed?
No, I felt safer.
Exactly.
It wasn't I felt less safe, I felt safer. So shout out to that business. We need more of them. Now, I was on another bill, House Joint Resolution 0038. House Resolution, Joint Resolution 0038. We need to be supporting it. And it's sponsored by Jay Reedy. Let me tell you who all has signed on to this. This has a list of a lot of good conservative or Republicans
Okay.
in the House.
So tell us what the House Joint Resolution is first.
It is a constitutional amendment to amend Article 1, Section 26 of the Tennessee Constitution.
Right.
Okay?
To follow Bruin. Am I correct?
That's right. To remove the provision that authorizes the legislator to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime, and to clarify that every citizen has a right to keep and bear arms for their defense, not just for common defense. How about them apples?
So what is the difference then? Because I tell you, anytime I see, and I've read this before, it is basically saying that in Tennessee that you should only go armed if you think something could happen. Is that not how they tried to do it?
That's the way I define it.
That's how I interpret it.
And that's the way I interpret it.
And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to, if I knew something was going to happen, I would not be walking around carrying a .357 revolver. I'm going to be carrying a rifle. I mean, I'm sorry. That's what I'm going to be carrying if I thought something was going to happen. But we still live in a polite enough society where I feel safe walking out of my house at least more than 99% of the time. But I'm going to tell you something, people. That day might be coming to an end with what we've had going on with our border.
That's correct. And what's fixing to happen at the border.
That's right. I am seeing things at the border that we saw a touch of it back in the 60s for the civil rights. But we have not been more polarized as a country, Chris, since the Civil War.
That is correct.
And right now we have 26 states on one side of this fight to try to keep our borders secure because our federal government, the Biden administration, is trying to get in as many people as they possibly can to destroy this country so they can stay in power.
Just in the month of December, brother, 10,000 a day were coming across the border. In December, we had 300,000 illegals to cross that border
And when you have
that we know about.
And when we have somebody like John Fetterman who, frankly, up until he got up here recently and spoke out about what was happening at the border, I never would agree with John Fetterman on anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay?
But one thing before we get away from House Joint Resolution 38,
Yeah.
let's go back and give a shout out to all these representatives
Yeah.
who signed on with Jay Reedy.
Yep.
Representative Chris Todd from Madison County in Jackson, Tennessee. Representative Clay Doggett. Representative Kip Capley. Representative Scott Serpicki. Representative Monty Fritz. Representative Rusty Grills. Now, I wrote all these people out because we know them.
Right.
We've had every one of them on the show but Monty Fritz.
Right.
So
right.
and Monty's going to be coming on as well. But we had Deborah Moody. And for y'all that don't know Deborah, she's over in District 81, House Seat 81, which is Haywood and Tipton County. We had Representative Brock Martin, who's in House District 79. That covers Carroll, Gibson, and a little bit of Henderson. We had William Slater, who has all of Trousdale County and part of Sumner. He is District 35. And gosh, we got a retired highway patrolman, Lowell Russell, who has got District 21, House District 21, and he's in Loudoun and Monroe counties. So we had a fistful of people to jump on this bill. And thank you to each and every one of them.
Thank you to each and every one of us. And it sounds like that this is a resolution that could wind up happening, it sounds like.
That's right. And
we just need the Senate to get off their butts and make sure they do their end.
And see, the way this works, where people will know we've got to pass this right now because it's got to come out of this session to where we can get it onto the ballot to be voted on. This is something that goes to the people to vote on.
That's correct.
It comes to you and I, okay? But it's got to be on a gubernatorial election, and our next gubernatorial election is 26.
Right.
And there's some type of rule that you got to do it. And, if we got a weak-kneed legislator or one of them trans Republicans that don't know where they're at, we need to whip them into shape and say, listen, you better be supporting this. And I know for a fact one of my SEC members got on a state senator, not with one foot, but both feet.
Good.
And told him how the cow eat the cabbage. Because we have a lot of weak-kneed Republicans, or more or less, I'll use the word spineless, that won't stand up for the right thing.
Yeah.
And we, the people, put them up there, and they answer to we, the people. So, folks, you need to learn to talk to your representatives, go to your local party meetings, get to know your SEC members, and get them to be your voice as well.
As well. And I'm going to tell you something. And you can do this firmly, but respectively.
Respectively, that's right.
I mean, we don't have to get ugly about it. We can make our voices known.
Sometimes you want to.
Oh, there's a lot of times I want to. Okay. There's times I know I come across as being combative, and I don't even mean to be combative. I'm going to tell you something. That's very good. I know I've been talking with Richard Archie about this, with the Tennessee Firearms Association, about this joint resolution.
Shout out to Richard Archie.
And he is having a tough time with getting the senators involved with this. So hopefully we can get some senators that will come around, and let's get this passed, and let's get this to the people of the state of Tennessee to decide how we are going to move forward as a state to defend ourselves legally.
Yeah. I've got a couple of more things, and I want to get back to just a little bit on the federal. Mm-hmm. But we've been in support of everything I talked about. Now I'm going to talk about one I want to oppose.
Okay.
And that's House Bill 1738 and Senate Bill 1685. The House sponsor is Justin Jones.
That's all you need to tell me on that. He is actually worse than Fetterman.
Yeah. And the Senate sponsor is a lady over in Memphis, State Senator London Lamar. And here it's tying this bill into TennCare Medicaid, as introduced, and authorizes the governor to expand Medicaid eligibility for the sole purpose of providing gun violence prevention services.
So what is gun violence prevention service? I'm going to tell you what gun violence prevention services to me is: a good guy with more guns and more firepower than the bad guy. That's gun prevention.
That's right.
For me.
Yeah.
But coming from, I love to hear.
Coming from two liberals.
From Justin Jones, what he thinks it is.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Hey, Justin, we'll give you an invite to come on the show.
Love to have you come on the show.
Love to have you on the show. We'll be nice to you. We're not mean. We're not going to be ugly to you. We'll treat you with respect as long as you treat us with respect. So I'd love to talk to him about it. If he's willing to come on, he's got an invite.
Yep.
I'd love for him to decide that for me and see, but I strongly oppose this bill. Now, I want to touch on this just real quick. Shout out to Kip Capley and to Joey Hensley again. And Kip's got some other people that co-sponsored. I just want to mention, don't forget about his House Bill 1730. And poor old Kip's been on TV. They have wore him out the last few days about his driver's license bill in English only. Shout out Kip. Shout out to Joey Hensley for sponsoring in the Senate. We greatly support this bill, too.
You know what's funny? Kip says he's been getting death threats over this. And I'm going to tell you another funny thing about it, is that they're calling him a racist.
Well, you know, I was going back and looking at some old programs on Pluto. Have you ever heard of that platform?
Yeah.
And I could watch The Little Rascals. Mm-hmm. And it was either buckwheat or alfalfa educated me the other day.
Yeah.
And I was watching this, and they said men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but Democrats have their head up their Uranus. And I thought that was pretty good, way back then.
But you know what? What's funny about it is they're calling him a racist. I have seen Spanish-speaking people whiter than me, which is hard, but I've seen it.
I got a good friend that is.
So it has nothing to do with race.
I got bilingual in my family.
It has, I mean, I got one that speaks 4 languages.
Yes, that's right. Your wife.
Yeah. I mean, and she speaks English better than I do.
You understand her pretty good, don't you?
Huh? Yeah, especially when she...
What do you mean, huh? Kick a pig in the butt and it'll say, huh?
Yeah, especially when she picks up that big wooden spoon.
Yeah. But, you know, got a lot of good things going, and I want to move into an announcement. I want everybody to listen to this because our time, we've got about 8.5 minutes. It gets away quick. But please mark your calendar for this upcoming Thursday evening, February 1. I've got a gentleman in WDXE, WLX, WKSR is going to be putting this on the news. Murray County, the Republican Party up there, is cordially inviting everybody to hear guest speaker Trevor Loudon. Trevor Loudon is a New Zealand author, speaker, and activist blogger. Communism, his quote is, "Communism is a form of organized crime." Think about that. He wrote a book called Barack Obama and the Enemies Within. Very good book. Then I've got this book personally, and he autographed it, White House Reds, written by Trevor Loudon, telling you, going back to 1972, about who all the communists that represented us in the House and Senate, and gives a play-by-play, and the first one is Al Gore Sr.
Wow.
And, you know, that's the very first one in Chapter 1 who gave Joe Biden his start in politics was Albert Gore Sr. Shame on you. And, of course, Trevor's a 6-time winner of the best anti-communist blogger. So this event is sponsored by the Tennessee Fair Elections Coalition. Kathy Harms heads that up. Citizens for Renewing America, which is headed up by Andrea Gomez. She's the state president. Giles County GOP, of course, myself as the chair. Lewis County GOP, Cody Mitchell, shout out to Cody, who chairs the party. Marshall County Chair, Craig Blackwell. Murray County Republican Party, Jerry Breidenball, chair. And the Williamson County Republican Party, Tracy Miller, chair. That is Thursday night, 6 o'clock. It's at the Lighthouse Church, and that's located, easy numbers, 2000 Williamsport Pike in Columbia, Tennessee. So you want to see a great patriot. And if you've never heard this guy speak, and guess what? It's free.
Right.
It's free.
Well, I want to tell you something. What he talks about, to me, communism is also morally wrong, and it goes against everything in the Bible.
Totally.
And, it's kind of funny. I'm going to show you how we are with communism. When we have the Biden administration right now, and I saw this clip before our show, before I drove in for the show, I should say. The Biden administration says that the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land, not the Constitution. Because of what they have, basically, John Roberts has kicked the can down the road again because he doesn't want to make a hard decision. And
that's one of them trans Republicans.
You know what? At this point,
really a Democrat.
I would even go a step further. What I see happening right now at the Texas-Mexico border is treason.
Yes, Mayorkas should be brought up on treason charges now, not
and
tomorrow.
The Biden administration.
I agree with you.
I mean, what they are doing. Let me tell you that we're going to get in the weeds for about 5 minutes because that's all we have left. But I got to get in the weeds because I got to tell you people what's going on.
Well, before we forget, shout out to Strikers.
Shout out to Strikers, but I'm going to tell you this.
Go ahead.
We have right now 26 states on one side and 24 states on another side.
One thing I want to point out about those 26 states, we have one Republican governor, and that's still the state of Vermont,
right,
that has not signed on. But we do have one Democrat governor, West Virginia, that signed on.
Okay.
Just to point that out.
Okay. But we have right now, Biden administration has come out, and I say Biden administration because this man, I don't even know if he knows when he's eating ice cream. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but when you look at the man in his eyes, there's nothing there. You see him on the TV, you see him talking, there's absolutely no one home.
He truly believes in the Easter Bunny.
There is definitely a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic, okay? And I'm trying to be nice about this, but the Biden administration is threatening to seize control of the National Guard.
Of the state's
yes.
National Guard, like the Tennessee National Guard.
Or the Texas or any other ones. And they are saying, the Biden administration is going out there right now, and they're saying, well, if the Senate will just send me a bill, I will sign it and I will take care of the border. We will stop this. Let me tell you how they're stopping it. I want people to understand this.
Listen up, everybody.
Right now, we have 10,000 people a day coming in. They want to they want to cut that in half to only 5,000 a day. The money, the $16 billion that they're asking for the border protection has nothing to do with stopping people from coming into this country. It is to hire more processors.
Processing agents.
To bring more people into this country. It has nothing to do with stopping it.
Or building a wall.
So when we hear our senators, yes, Marsha Blackburn and
Bill Hagerty,
we see this. We're not stupid with what's being in there. Let me tell you the other thing that's in there. We've got to put this in with Ukraine getting money.
It's always got a pig and a poke.
So why do we have to bring in Ukraine and border security in one?
We don't.
And if we're going to protect our borders, why are we giving Ukraine 6 times more money? We're wanting to give Ukraine another $110 billion to secure their borders, but only $16 billion to secure ours. And it's not securing people. Listen to what I'm telling you. Go read. Go educate yourself. This money is not to build a wall. This money is not to stop the people from coming in, the flowing of coming in. It is to hire more people to process them.
You know what I heard about that for Ukraine?
What's that?
Zelensky needs a new jet. He needs a new Gulfstream 550.
Either that or Hunter's running low on crack whores and crack.
You know, it's a shame that people who still want to hang on to that last little thread of a Democrat, I don't even know how you call yourself a Democrat.
I'm going to tell you this, and I've said this for the last 3 or 4 years, and I could care less about Democrat or Republican. Chris, you know this more than anybody.
Oh, I know. I've heard it. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000.
And not only have you heard it from me, but I think I live it too.
Mm-hmm. You do. I see it.
Yes. But I got to say this before we close out. It doesn't matter to me, but when you have one party that follows a platform that's for murdering children, murdering babies, when you have a platform that is for going against what God's definition of marriage is,
yes.
When you have a platform that wants to take your rights, the ability to defend yourself, not to go hunting. The Second Amendment's not about hunting. It is about defending yourself against a tyrannical government.
That's right. That's the sole purpose.
That is the sole purpose.
Here we are. We're at the end. God bless everybody.
God bless everybody, and we will see you again
Friday.
Friday.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.